MotoAmerica on beIN Sports is presented by Dunlop and the all-new Sport Max Q3 Plus. Now you don't have to sacrifice mileage to get top performance. Dunlop Q3 Plus. And powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. Welcome back to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. A good look at your pole sitter, Roger Hayden, who had a good run yesterday. Got out front early, but then his teammate, who seems to be the class of the field right now, who's on a 4-race win streak in the Superbike class.
Yeah, and you know, you said it the best, Tony, right now is the class of the field. And it's hard to overlook Raj. I mean, he's doing everything right. He's doing a lot of great things. He's just got to try to get up there and try to win one of these races. That's the last thing he's really got to try to do, Greg.
And this is the process as the grid starts to clear. Let's take a look at our Dunlop starting grid and how they qualified. It is Roger Hayden sitting on pole, Josh Hayes, and Tony Elias the front row.
Yep, starting off the second row there, Josh Herron, who we saw him pulling the pits yesterday with a broken exhaust. Cameron Beaubier got to get to those first couple of corners better today, and I think he could do something here with Tony. Matthew Schultz there, our Superstock points champion and winner of our Superstock class yesterday outside of row 2. Danny Essex, Sylvain Berrier, who we saw slide off after getting a good start, slid off in the corkscrew right off the bat yesterday. Kyle Wyman, Jake Lewis, who I had a little talk with this morning. I'll get more into that after we get started. Bryce Prince, Bobby Fong. Bobby's got to start making a charge here. These guys still have 8 rounds to go. There's still a lot of points up for grabs, but he's got to start getting some momentum back. Jason DeSalvo, Hayden Gillum, and Anthony West, who we just saw in our pre-race show. Thomas Puerta, Cameron Peterson, and Tyler O'Hara on row 6. Tyler racing up here in the AFM series. Row 7, Max Flinders, Sebastian Ferreira, and Barrett Long. And then we got Jason Lauritsen, Sam Federico, and Roy Holster back there in row 8.
Rounding out the grid here is Matthew Orange, Kurt Feigl, and Steve Zoomer, as we like to call him. So good, solid field. The most entries we've had in MotoAmerica since the beginning of the series 2.5 years ago. Yeah,
there's this is a big full grid, and I think it can go. I think we can say it. There's, we're going to probably get it back into some lappers here. Probably come lap 13, 14. We'll start to see some of the tail end guys. And again, if the front guys can stay closer together, that could definitely impact the race. And I'm looking to see if I see Cameron Peterson. Let's look at our Kawasaki keys to the race. Elias is he going to just continue the dominance? Are these guys going to let him just keep winning races and piling on the points? I think that we've said it enough already. There's a couple of these guys have just got to try to step up and slow his momentum down, especially as we head into our summer break also, even though it's 5 weeks. I mentioned also that Cameron's got to get a better start. Yesterday, him and Josh Herron went down into turn 2 and got a little bit tangled up together. It affected a lot of people. It affected Schultz. It affected Jake Lewis, a few other guys. But Cameron's got to just get a clean start here because it's definitely harder to get back through people. And Matthew Schultz is starting to slowly separate himself also in this Superstock Championship, Greg. He's starting to show a little bit of dominance, and I know that the next track that we go to, or 2 away, that Yamaha is going to work really well at Infineon, and I think he's already proven his pace at Pittsburgh, the new track that we're going to be going there a little bit later in the year. And these guys, again, they've got to stop making mistakes, get up there and race with Matthew and try to continue to close that gap down.
All right, so JP's, Kawasaki's keys to the race. But as these motorcycles form up on the grid, let's go to Hannah with our Motul last-minute report. Hannah?
Now, you guys know that Josh Hayes had a little bit of a get-off yesterday. He lost the front in turn 5, and I was just talking to our friends over at Dunlop, and Josh Hayes decided to switch it up. He was on extra soft front and rear tires yesterday, and he switched to the soft today. So maybe one can speculate that he changed the front tire to find some more grip or just to kind of play it a little safer today.
All right, thanks for that Motul last-minute report. That could be the tail of this one for Josh Hayes.
Yeah, maybe looking for something a little bit more stable underneath him, and maybe that tire offers that to him.
So the grid looks to be clear and ready to roll. And now, this is it, the final race from Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca in 2017. It is the Motul Superbike class, and we're underway.
Again, Raj with a great start. Looks like Tony got off the line really well, too. Josh Hayes, Cameron Beaubier looked like he had slotted into 4th really early here, so there's not going to be any problems for him, hopefully, as they come down. You can see Josh Herron right behind him in 5th. Schultz, Wyman, I see Jake Lewis got a better start today. So Sylvain Berrier did not get the jump he was looking for, but Raj, once again, out in front.
Looked like Tommy Puerta out in the dirt, but look at Beaubier, a much better start. This is exactly what he needed. Talking to Cameron Beaubier earlier on today, he said he knew what he was up against with these Yoshimura Suzukis. It seems like at this moment, Jason, it's that initial drive off the corner that Yosh has the Yamahas covered here at Mazda Raceway.
That's right. And then we got 3 Superstock guys all right here together. That's Schultz, Lewis, and Danny Eslick, first, second, third Superstock. But yes, he's done exactly what he's had to do. He's got off the line. He got by Josh early. You can see he's already going to try to start working on these Yosh guys immediately. If he can somehow get by Tony and get to Raj first, that would, I think would be the goal of Cameron at this point.
Up into the corkscrew for the first time in this race, 23 laps scheduled. It is Roger Hayden, Yoshimura Suzuki, Tony Elias right behind him. And then it is the first of our Yamaha riders, Cameron Beaubier, on that number 1. He's our reigning champ on that Monster Energy Yamaha factory racing entry. It looks like Cameron thought he had a notion there for a second, as side by side goes Josh Herron on the number 2. So Herron on that HelmetSounds.com Western Services Mean Motorsports puts himself in front of Josh Hayes.
Yep, and he'll be another guy. Here comes Josh Hayes right back at him. He's going to run wide though, Greg, I think. Yep, he was in there just a little bit deep, and now he's got Kyle Wyman trying to kind of roll underneath him. But even Herron knows he's got to get to the front and try to go with these guys early in order to try to run the pace that they run. Now, Raj is really good about getting out front and setting the pace. And I think that we're going to see a little bit more frantic action with the guys behind him this time. Kyle Wyman looks a lot more racy today than he did yesterday, so maybe they've made some setup changes on his bike too.
Feeling it, Kyle Wyman, that motivation machine. Millennium Technology, Lucas Oil backed entry yesterday. Yeah, I think we know what's going on with Kyle a little bit, don't we, Hannah?
He blew the motor yesterday, so they were able to get the motor fixed and ready to go for today's race. I know he was feeling really confident on the bike. He said he had the pace to keep up with that lead pack there. So hopefully, he won't have the same problems again today, and he can prove what he's got.
He's had some motor problems this year. As Josh Herron slots himself into third, he's ready to take the fight to these guys at the front. Josh Herron means business today. He's got by both factory Yamahas now, and he's going to try to close up on Tony. Now, his bike looks really good to me. You can see Cameron wants to go right back past. He's not going to be able to do it, Greg, but
I like that line that
down into turn 2. Yeah,
he really slammed the door on the ability for Beaubier to get up the inside there.
He did, and he's trying to take advantage of these guys while his tires are new. While all their tires are new, Herron looks like he's got some pace, but he looks really good out of turn 10 going down into 11, and that's going to be really key for him to try to just, when you get into turn 11, all you got to do is get up alongside somebody. You don't necessarily have to pass him. Cameron's got a bit of a run on him right now, but not quite able to do anything with him. It looks like Kyle Wyman's trying to go underneath Josh. Josh is just getting dropped by these front 3 just a little bit. So something's just not agreeing with Josh. That front tire maybe isn't working as good as he'd like.
So Josh Hayes, number 4, 4-time Superbike champ in his career, 7 championships overall, coming under fire from privateer Superbike effort Kyle Wyman right now. But this battle up front, Hayden, Elias, Herron, and Beaubier.
Now this is where Herron he closes in down through Rainy Curve and gets himself nice and close as they head into turn 10. At least that's what he's done the last couple times. See how close he is? Now his arc going in is going to allow him to run a little bit more mid-corner speed, and he shoots up alongside Elias and is able to make that pass.
Wow, he made it look easy. Can he get it stopped is the question, and he does, and off the corner he goes with that Richard Stamboli horsepower. So it's now privateer Superbike against the factory Yosh, and we know Tony Elias, his strength is on the brakes. Is he going to go up the inside and try to retake the, and they touch.
That's exactly what Tony does, though. Tony's not afraid to race it up with people, and Cameron's trying to go underneath him as well. But now Josh Herron's fired that first shot. That's going to make Tony want to speed things up and maybe try to get up to his teammate and get by. Now, mid-corner speed there, you can see Josh runs a lot more mid-corner speed through turn 3 than does Tony. Let's see if he can get close enough to do something with him in turn 5. I don't think he's quite got the horsepower, Greg, down the straightaways. The little short shoots, you can see how early Tony gets the bike turned into turn 5. The next spot will be turn 11 again. So he gets a good drive, and all he does, Greg, is he commits really early. See the gap between the 2 riders there? And he's going to take it right down to the inside of Josh and just try to slide through.
So just a little bit of that knee puck and the foot action there.
On the exhaust.
Yeah, so Josh Herron, little touching and little bumping and grinding.
And he doesn't mind that.
No.
Josh
loves
definitely
to race it up.
That. Yep, he doesn't mind that at all. And now we're going to see again. Oh, Tony gets kicked out of the seat. That's going to help Josh here. See how much earlier Tony turns in than Josh? And it allows Herron to run just a little bit more corner speed. He's not close enough to do it this time, though.
Tony Elias trying to keep all his focus forward as Roger Hayden's having it his own way. 24.9 last go around. Completing going to lap number 5 here. And Roger Hayden, a 24.9. Tony Elias just did the fastest lap of his race, a 25 flat. 25.3 and 25.1 for Cam Beaubier. So all the while, you can start to see Herron a little bit movement in the front end. Side by side they go. Herron's not want to give up that position, but that's not the optimal place to drive.
It's such a big commitment to go underneath somebody in turn 3 because we're always searching for front grip there. And you've really got to try to make that pass. And Herron's shaking his head. He doesn't want to see this gap created. And sometimes when you go by in turn 3, you've got to make the pass or it can slow a couple riders up. And he doesn't want to. He's shaking his head. He's got some sort of problem, Greg, it looks like. Yeah, because he's shaking his head about something.
So that might be it for Josh Herron. He's shaking his head, which, of course, even when you're shaking your head, Jason, it takes your focus away. But Herron right now trying to find a way back up through the corkscrew. Tony Elias doesn't look as comfortable as he has. He's already had some warnings from his motorcycle, from his tires, as Roger Hayden is trying to break free. This is the part of the race where we start to see as the fuel load drops, and Tony Elias starts to get more comfortable with what he's got underneath him.
Cameron's close this time. Cameron's really close. But look at the bike wheeling and all that stuff there that you can control electronically. It's a fine balance, you know. When his bike's wheeling like that, it's not driving forward as he'd like it to be. So you've got to get your bike good for turn 10 to turn 11 because it's such a prime passing opportunity for him. So Raj right now just doing consistent lap times, 24.9 to 25.1. Guys behind him are 1/10 or 2 off. And Raj just kind of got it on his own out front right now, doing his own thing.
Back there in 4th spot, Josh Herron. Looks like his motorcycle's starting to move around. Here's a good replay and look at different lines that are taken coming up into the corkscrew and down the hill.
Such a good camera angle from our guys out there, and just seeing these bikes coming down through the corkscrew. You see Josh Herron on the Helmet Sounds Mean Motorsports bike, and they're itching for a good result. That whole team's been working extremely hard, and Josh is doing a great job. It looks like Roy Holster's gone down.
That's a shame. Roy Holster on that jelly belly.
Somebody else with him, Greg, too.
Yeah. Looked like Roy Holster having a race back there. So Roy Holster, number 46 out of Napa, California, on that Jelly Belly Napa Valley Racing.com Yamaha. In only his second attempt.
Kurt Beagle. He just clipped the back of Roy as they went down into Rainy Curve. Just lost the front. But look at this. Cameron Beaubier is still trying really hard. He's got to do something. Here it comes, Greg.
Here comes Cameron Beaubier. He thought about it. And I'll tell you what, Tony's leaving the door open for that pass. But I don't think Cam's got quite the feel on the front end he needs right now. This is what Cameron Beaubier was looking for, Jason. He didn't lose too much coming off the corner onto the front straightaway to the Yoshimura Suzuki. And that's what he and his Yamaha team were scratching their head about yesterday, trying to figure out how to close that gap in terms of the initial launch off the corner.
And I think you called it. Tony's bike doesn't look quite as good today, maybe as it did yesterday. Maybe some of these guys have made some changes to their motorcycles overnight to get them a little bit closer. Cameron's still in a very good spot. Raj isn't really going anywhere right now, although he's almost got a second on Tony. But Cameron looks really good off the exits of the corners. He looks much better. I think you might see something for turn 11. See how early Tony gets that bike tipped in?
Yeah.
It makes it really hard to pass a guy like that. And, you know, here we go. Back to our Superstock leader, Matthew Skoltz. Bobby Fong is in second. Danny Essick third. Little surprised to see Anthony West not really in this picture at all. I'm not sure if he's made a mistake or not. I thought maybe after some changes overnight, Matthew got kicked up out of the seat pretty good there himself.
We saw yesterday Anthony West, of course, a lot of front-end chatter with that motorcycle.
A lot of front-end chatter.
And sometimes you can go in a weird direction with that. There's Bobby Fong. So now we're accustomed to seeing this rider as the #1 Kawasaki out front. Yesterday it was Anthony West. So Bobby Fong in that Quicksilver latest Motorsports Kawasaki, trying to get a rhythm going again. Is when this rider, Bobby Fong, started the season, I mean, it looked like it was going to be over. 2 wins and then another podium finish, a DNF, and another couple of wins. But as of late, it's been up and down for Bobby Fong.
That's right, yeah. And it's just been a little bit of an inconsistency thing, but he's got the guy in front of him that he needs to beat. And that said, he's also got Kyle Wyman just in front of Matthew. So Matthew doesn't really want to get, I've talked to him, he doesn't really want to get into big battles with the Superbike guys, but he's going to have to figure out what to do because he's going to notice Bobby Fong closing on him. So he's going to have to figure out what he might want to do with Kyle as we get a better look here. See the mid-corner speed and the exit speed that Cameron's able to carry? Tony's just kind of getting the bike stopped at the apex and firing it off. Then he fires it in early into turn 5. It's going to make it hard for Cameron to pass there. That said, all the leaders that time relatively the exact same time. Raj is just out front doing his own thing. Herron's still back there in 4th. Lost about 4/10 on that last lap.
Cameron Beaubier run up towards the corkscrew. We've seen Cameron in years past. He likes to make passes into the corkscrew, but the way Tony runs it, he's so tight. I mean, he's just so defensive right now.
The thing is that he's defensive, but his lap times don't really hurt. You know,
yeah.
The lap times are still as fast as anybody else. But you see the run that Cameron's getting on him? It's going to take something special like this as they go into turn 10.
Will it stick? Cam Beaubier up the inside in 10. He'll take over 2nd spot. And Tony Elias with no fight him in turn 11.
But watch, the Yost bike gets off that last corner really well too. And if he can even get close to Cameron, which he is, he's going to just let the brake off and go back by him as they come over turn 1 down into turn 2. Let's see what happens.
Now Beaubier is trying to hold it as tight as he can, at least on the initial brake grab, and that sends Tony a little bit wide. So Tony might have been trying to, do a little bit of a different strategy. We saw what Tony was able to do when he got around Herron earlier on in the race.
And he was looking down also. And again, a lot of times when you see guys looking down, sometimes they might be doing something with their brake adjuster, trying to screw the brake adjuster in or out so that they can try to make it to where their brake lever gets them more feel. So here you go. There's another look. A great drive out of Rainy Curve, and it puts them very committed pass as they go down inside turn 10.
Cameron Beaubier, your reigning champion, looking now ahead at Roger Hayden, and that gap is less than a second.
And I'm looking at the splits right now, our sector splits that we have in front of us. Rod's still quickest in the 1st sector, very close in the 2nd. So Cameron's not closed up too much on this on the beginning part of this lap.
So right now it's Roger Hayden, Cam Beaubier, Tony Elias, Josh Herron in 4th, still circulating. So although he was shaking his head, Josh Hayes in 5th, Kyle Wyman in 6th, Matthew Schultz 7th, Bobby Fong 8th, Danny Eslick 9th, and Anthony West in a battle with Sylvain Barriere up to 10th.
Well, Cameron's bridged the gap a little bit, or at least it looks like he's bridged the gap. On our sector times, it's not really that big of a deal, but he's definitely dropping Tony. This is definitely something that we haven't seen too often. We're almost half race distance right now, and we've seen Tony drop back in the past, but his bike's backing in quite a bit right now as he comes into the braking zone into turn 2. And you said that they weren't making any changes to Tony's bike going in today.
That's what they told me.
Yep.
They told me that. And with that temperature change, Tony's bike may have just nailed it in the heat, but maybe it's these cooler temperatures that tightened up his bike a little bit. Now, rumor has it that Pizzazz Superstock 1000 second in points, Jake Lewis, is out of this race. Hannah, do you have more?
Yeah, you may have noticed he pulled in quite a few laps ago now. He walked away, so I wasn't able to talk to him, but I spoke with the team, and it seems that he was having some problems with the bike, something to do with the clutch, so it's really unfortunate for Jake.
Sometimes that happens, especially if you're going aggressive launch and you're trying to make up positions. The clutch can get a little bit burned out.
He was 2nd in points, I believe, so in the super stock points. So that's really going to hurt his thing. And Matthew just keeps piling on the pressure. Matthew Schultz leading Superstock. Get a little look back here at Josh Hayes, and Josh is literally only 4/10 off what our leaders' times are. And some of us at home, you might be thinking, "Gosh, he's so close." 4/10 is an eternity for a motorcycle racer, and he's trying his best to close that gap up to Josh Herron. They're both running at relatively the same times. And then you can see the battle back here for 6th overall. Kyle Wyman and Matthew Schultz coming across the line now, headed up over top of turn 1. And Bobby Fong is slowly closing in on that gap to Matthew Schultz.
Kyle Wyman having a good run at it today, commenting on social media last night that they were going to put a new bullet in the bike. So far, so good for the Yamaha R1 rider. But here comes Schultz. Matthew Schultz on that Super Stock 1000 machine. Right now, Jason, he had a 26-point lead over Jake Lewis. So if Matthew Schultz is able to hold on to this position in the Pizzazz Superstock 1000 class, that means he's going to gain a whole nother 25 points. and really shuffle Jake Lewis back. It'll be a 2-race advantage ahead of that rider. But Bobby Fong really, at this point in the season, he's 38 points adrift. He's got to figure out a way to latch onto the back of Schultz, get closer, and make a pass, and get to that checkered flag first if he's going to get any points back.
As many great rides as we've seen out of Bobby Fong this year, it doesn't seem right that he's 38 points back, but it's been a crucial key, some crucial key mistakes along the way that have really hurt him a lot. And the DNFs and things, and even the small mistakes like in qualifying and making things difficult on himself. Bobby's an incredible rider, but Matthew Schultz has stayed consistent. He's won races, has Matthew, but he's just not made those big mistakes. Pretty soon it's going to be interesting to see how this little battle tightens up, because Matthew's going to have to try to figure out a way to look at getting past Kyle Wyman as he starts to see +0 on his board. And the front 3 leaders are closed back up, and Cameron Beaubier has closed the gap to Roger Hayden.
And here comes Tony Elias as well. So Tony just kind of closing that gap ever so slightly on Roger Hayden. Hayden has had his way in this race, and we're getting close to the halfway point. So you've got to start thinking, look, as the fuel load starts to drop and things get more consistent with the motorcycle, you've got it figured out 12 laps into this race. So Roger Hayden has really got to, he's got to win this one at this point.
His bike looks so good coming out the corners. Roger's bike does. It looks really solid. But Cameron just seems like he's carrying a little bit more mid-corner speed through some of the turns. And you can see him close up on braking here. I'm interested to see down through turn 9 and 10. And you know, that fluorescent yellow is still awful big in our screen right behind these two guys.
Sure is.
And Tony always shows he's got that little bit extra gear. So, but now Cameron is glued to the back of Raj. And he's really close, Greg. Could see something in turn 11. Looks like he's going to fall in behind Raj this lap, though.
Jason, there's always 2 types of motorcycles. Ones that allow you to go fast, and another motorcycle that allows you to race. And we haven't seen if Roger Hayden's got a raceable motorcycle yet. We know he can go fast as James works the board, and he's given him that +0 sign. He also gives him the 11 laps to go.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're 11 laps left. Roger's been able to do a fine job right now out front. I just want to see if he's got a little something left in the tank there.
A little mistake by Cameron Beaubier in the exit of turn number 2 down at the bottom. Just cost him a 10th or 2. As Hayden really cleaned that section. So Beaubier with a little bit of one. And that's going to allow Tony Elias to close back up ever so slightly. So this race not really settling down as they continue to push the issue. And here's number 69. That's Danny Eslick fighting it out with Anthony West. That's for 9th and 10th on the racetrack.
And that's going to be for 3rd overall in our super stock category. And Danny Eslick's getting a chance to race with somebody he's never raced with, Anthony West. And getting back to the piece about Anthony earlier, he's been riding World Super Sport. He's actually just jumps around a lot. He goes all over to different countries. He's been riding all 600s for the last year. That's why when he says he hasn't been on 1,000 in a while, it is true. I saw him a couple years ago racing some World Endurance, and like you said, he's been factory Kawasaki MotoGP rider. He's been around a while. They're catching up to Zoomer as they come up here up into the corkscrew, and let's see what Danny does and Anthony does with Zoomer as they get up to the top. No. Danny's going to clean that back marker and go through, and Zoomer looks back over his shoulder, and Anthony's able to go by him.
Yeah, Zoomer looks over his shoulder there. Sometimes it's best to go as quick as you can to get through that tight section, but so a little gap now between those 2 riders. So Ant West has it all to do again to catch up to Danny Eslick. Eslick, of course, on that TOBC Racing Yamaha, made some big changes to that motorcycle. Back up front we go. And it's that same gap, just about 0.2 of a second between Roger Hayden, Cameron Beaubier, with Tony Elias just hanging out back there.
Yeah, and they're circulating now about mid-25s.
And Jason, you have to think if you're Cam Beaubier, you know that Tony Elias is great late race. So if Cam's got any pace, he wants to break free. So you think that Cam has got to strike as soon as possible if he's got any extra pace in the tank.
Agreed, and that's the first time all races I've seen Roger's bike move under initial acceleration. He was at the apex of that corner, and from off throttle to that initial acceleration, I saw his bike move. Cameron's doing everything he can right now to set himself up to maybe try to slide underneath him going up into the corkscrew. Not quite close enough. All those are little test runs, though, Greg. He's getting a chance to look at where Roger's brake markers are. He's had a look now in 11. He's had a look now in the corkscrew. All the while, Tony's just kind of sitting there waiting for something to happen, because if Cameron strikes on Raj, Tony's going to want to strike immediately on Raj himself.
It's Cam Beaubier's favorite section of the racetrack right now, anyway, where he just got through that part of the racetrack where he struck on Tony Elias to take over that spot. But it seems now as they come to the stripe, and we get a look at those times. The times have dropped a little bit, another couple tenths, so 25.8 and a 25.6 for Tony Elias.
But that could be the grip issue that I can just notice with Raj right now. Josh Herron doing an awesome job. Still circulating in fourth. He's got about a, what's he got? About a 5-second lead, 2.4-second lead over Josh Hayes right now. And just doing a good job trying to get this Mean Motorsports bike up into fourth here.
All right. Yesterday he had a problem, okay? The actual cylinder 1 header pipe actually broke off where there's some welding. Richard Stamboli told me exact same thing happened to you just 15 years ago.
God, is that long ago?
At Daytona,
Way to age me, yeah, thank you.
Tell us what happened there.
Well, basically what happens is when your bike goes off song like that, you start to worry that maybe there's something going wrong with the motor.
There's a big hole in the header,
yeah,
so all of a sudden you're hearing this loud.
There you go, Greg. Is there back up front here? Looked like Cameron had a good look at him. See how tight Raj is going? That's good. That's Raj protecting. That's okay to do that there because that is the slowest part of the track. Get in there tight. It doesn't matter. Don't let these guys go underneath you. He can continue. Oh, no! Cameron Beaubier.
Oh, wow. Beaubier a little bit wide, and he puts it on the ground.
Gosh. That's such a bummer for him.
And for Raj, in a way.
It is, but Raj has still got this lead, and he's going to have to fight off his teammate. But if he does what he just showed me he's doing up in the corkscrew, he needs to start defending against this guy. When he sees +0, he needs to not open the door. He's got to close that door the best he can. And, you know, that makes me think that Cameron was trying to get a good run through Rainy Curve down into turn 10. Here you go. You see how he's a little wider? He's trying to run that little bit mid-corner speed, but he's off the apex a little, so he's not taking advantage of the camber, and that's why he loses the front there.
And it crowns out there, and that's the dangerous part of the racetrack if you're trying to set that move up, and Cam Beaubier paid the price. So Monster Energy Yamalube, Yamaha Factory Racing's Cam Beaubier down in gravel trap in turn number 10, and that leaves it yet again to the Yoshimura Suzukis of Roger Hayden and Tony Elias to fight it out for the win right now with 8 laps remaining in this race.
And it bumps Josh Herron up into a podium spot in third right now. So we're going to keep an eye on that battle behind these guys on our screen just to see if Hayes can close that up enough. But what Roger's got to do is exactly what he showed me. As we see Cameron Beaubier is back up and going again as he exits turn 11. And, you know, at this point, Greg, this championship has really slipped away from him a lot. And we just haven't seen Cameron make these mistakes. But the pace is that much faster this year. And with these new Yoshimura Suzukis, they've really figured those bikes out. And you see Cameron just kind of looking down at his bike.
Jason, I'm going to tell you something. There was a lot of debris, rocks coming out of the belly pan of his motorcycle. And when rocks like that end up on the racetrack, anything could happen to anyone. I mean, someone could pick up a rock like Roger Hayden and throw it right into the radiator of Tony Elias. So that's also something to really think about here. But there was a bit of a debris flying off that motorcycle. Well, look at Roger Hayden. It looked like he was steering the motorcycle with the rear a bit.
The thing is, Greg, is that he's altered his line, it looks like to me, just a little bit. He knows that Tony's behind him. He's got +0, and I'm sure it says Tony on his board. It might have said Cam for the last 5 or 6 laps. He doesn't know that maybe Cameron's out of the race because he hasn't seen Cameron yet. So Cameron's back out there rolling around. But what he's got to do, see how he's closing out that exit, see how much tighter he's going in? This is what he's got to do to defend Tony Elias right now, because Tony is not going to be afraid to let the brake lever off and try to go up underneath it, but he's got to try to defend that move. And he's doing it now with 5 to go. So
San Bernardino, Lapper, signaling to these factory Yoshimura Suzuki riders to go by clean.
He's going in tighter, Greg, again, up into the corkscrew.
Tony's able to make up a lot on the brakes there, but if he can't do it, he's got no space to make a pass, it's all right.
Now Tony's kind of ramping up here. You can see he's gotten a little bit closer to Raj. Bike's spinning quite a bit out of there. Raj's bike has looked pretty good all down through this section throughout the race. See how he's able to get off that corner? If he can do that, that's going to be a big key for Raj, being able to get off turn 10.
The problem, though, is that Roger Hayden doesn't know that. We know that, but there's no rear-view mirrors on these bikes, so he's just got to concentrate on what he's doing, and that's a little bit of a gap right there. So we know where Tony Elias is really strong at this moment.
But the thing, too, is he's able to look at Tony Elias's lap board also, and that right there, he was able to not only see his board, but see Tony's and realize that there's a gap behind him. So now he knows that there's something wrong with Cameron, or something has happened to Cameron, right?
Yeah.
So he's got one guy he's got to fight against right now.
6 laps to go for Roger Hayden. A very emotional weekend here, coming to World Superbike at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. A lot of memorials to his brother, and a lot of talk about Jake Gagne being on his brother's bike, and Roger Hayden even getting on the podium and presenting some special Dunlop 69 hats to the winners in the Super Sport class. The win emotionally would be such an amazing boost for Roger if he can pull this off. But there's one rider out there that's thinking about one thing, and that is the championship. Race wins, Tony Elias.
See, Roger's bike still looks really good to me, though, Greg, getting off the corners. Like, he still looks really solid. It's almost to Tony's equal. Yesterday when we watched the race, we made a point of talking about how good Tony's bike was getting off the corners. Roger's looks good too, and this guy deserves a podium more than probably anybody else in the paddock. This team hasn't had one yet this year. They've been in some turmoil, and what you talked about with that header exhaust, yeah, 15 years ago at the Daytona 200 with Richard Samboli, I was going around the bankings and I heard something weird. And at Daytona, you don't want to mess with too many things. I pulled in, I said, Rich, I think there might be something wrong with the motor. Took my helmet off, and he came out, jumped back over the wall, and said, Jay, it's the header exhaust, get back on and go. So I was a lap and a half down, but that's what we ended up doing. And the same thing happened yesterday to Josh.
Yeah, and as he recalls, it was somewhere in the top 10 that you were able to finish that race. So same thing happened 15 years later. It was, you know, one of those things where on a team like this, when they're on a very tight budget, sometimes you can't just replace the exhaust system when the time says it's time to replace it. So Josh Herrin having a really great run on the HelmetSounds.com Western Services Mean Yamaha. Back up front we go. Roger Hayden and Tony Elias now are glued together.
I'm watching Tony's bike move around a lot because Raj is just closing off. See the difference in where they're at on the track? Raj is closing things off. Now, if Raj had a rear view mirror, he'd know that he's getting out of here really, really good. Now he's going to move over to the left-hand side of the track, and you're going to see the lines at the top. See how he's over to the left? He's blocking that pass from Tony. I like seeing this out of Raj. This is what he's got to start doing. You know, at Miller, he let Tony do the same move on him like 3 or 4 times in a row going into turn 6 at Miller. Right now, it's going to be a little bit harder. Tony's now, his wheels are spinning. Where am I going to be able to do it? Where am I going to be able to get past my teammate?
At the top of that corkscrew for Roger Hayden, that's a very comfortable move as we see him coming in there.
See what it does, Greg? Didn't mean to interrupt. It's running him a little bit wide. He's just got to control that entry speed a little bit more. When you close off the entry, it doesn't hurt you to brake a little bit earlier because that guy's entry's already closed off. He's going to try to go around the outside of you, which will be impossible to do up at the top of the corkscrew.
Roger Hayden definitely knows how to go left at the top of the corkscrew. It's comfortable for him, just like in this corner. Roger Hayden, standing on the podium in U.S. flat track at one time in his career, coming from a dirt track, flat track background. So Roger Hayden with little less than 4 laps to go in this race. And this battle is heating up between the Superstock 1000 podium. It is number 11, Matthew Schultz, and number 50, Bobby Fong.
Yep, they're still going at it. And you know, the thing is that if Matthew, I'm not going to say he gets held up, but if he just makes a little bit of a wrong move, especially when they start coming into traffic here, Bobby's ready to pounce.
One of the advantages, of course, in that Superbike is a little bit more power up and out of the saddle. Matthew Schultz on that Yamalu Westby Racing Yamaha. Really aggressive on the throttle, and that motorcycle continues to move around. The South African doesn't care, though. He likes to put all eyes forward. Lap traffic could play a factor here momentarily as we get to a section of the racetrack that can be very one line. And Kyle Wyman with a good move around the outside.
Yeah, that was going to get interesting up in the corkscrew. Now, the thing I want you to pay attention to is I've seen the places where Raj has kind of been blocking to me a little bit that I can tell. If you see, look how good his bike's getting off that exit of that corner. The one place, Greg, that I'm a little worried about is going into turn 3. Tony's line into turn 3 is a little bit tighter than Raj. If he can get close enough down through here and get a good drive out of turn 2, this next turn, he can maybe try to sneak underneath Raj in 3 because it's the one place where Raj hasn't closed off yet. If you watch here, see how Raj gets it back over to the left a little bit earlier? If Tony can be closer, as Raj is going left, Tony can straighten that up. So that might be something that we might want to think about with 2 or 3 laps to go here.
26-1s last time around. Fastest lap of the race going to Josh Herrin at a 24-7. So as the race is worn on, lap time starting to fall off just a little bit. But Roger Hayden, Yoshimura Suzuki, Raj get off that corner.
So good. I mean, the bike looks pretty good there, getting off those turns. And, you know, I got to think that Raj's motivation, he's made it through a very, very kind of the lull part of the race, the hard part of the race from lap 7 to, say, lap 17, 18. He's still leading. Now he's in that stage where I just don't want to give this away. So what he's doing at the top now, that lap, is he's still in a little bit deep, but he's closing off the top part of that right and opening things back up a little bit. So Tony's able to get a little bit closer down this hill.
little bit of wheel spin there.
A little bit of wheel spin
from Roger Hayden as he tries to get the bike in position to get it through turn number 10. Tony Elias, we've seen him take several looks in the past, but he just looks like he's in a line right now, getting off the corner really well, Roger.
Yeah, really good out of 11.
But here's the thing, Jason. Rogers had his way through turn 11 this whole time. If Tony's able to disrupt that line, does Roger have something else to get on the gas and fight for? Oh, Cameron Beaubier up to 15.
Yeah, and he's over in between turn 3 and 4. Our leaders aren't that far behind Cameron right now, but yeah, he's got himself back up there, and it's good to see Cameron up and okay. He's at least got a championship point in his pocket as of right this second, just by rolling around, and it looks like he's got a fair gap to the next guy up in front of him. As we look back at Anthony West right now with Danny Eslick going off into turn 2.
Ant West got around Danny Eslick. Still looks like the front end of that motorcycle chattering quite a bit for Ant West. We'll have to see what the future holds for Anthony West in terms of MotoAmerica, as Aussie Dave Racing, David Anthony, really enjoying the fact that he's able to get Anthony West to come in here and race the motorcycle to this level. That Fly Street Motul Oils ADR Motorsports machine having a great run at it today.
And it's good for that team. It's good to see more teams on the podium like the Mean Motorsports or the ADR guys. And here we go. Rod, you got about 2 more corners and 1 more lap to finish. And it's going to have to be the lap of your life, because Tony's definitely going to have a look somewhere. We know Tony's not just going to sit there, but this is where Rod has been. See how much more open up the turn Tony had that time? He's a little bit closer this time, Greg, as they head up the front straightaway. Roger's got to be careful of the big move down on the inside of turn 2.
White flag flying on this one. This is the last one. Here comes Tony Elias. He's going to go up the inside. Oh, Roger has to make the adjustment, and a huge mistake. Roger tries to get it turned on the gas, but Tony Elias did exactly what he needs to do. Now we'll find out if Roger Hayden has a motorcycle to fight with.
I could see it coming from the exit of turn 11. Tony opened up the exit, or the entry of 11, carried a little bit more speed. Now, Roger's just got to figure out a way to get back into Tony's draft here, do something going down into turn 5, and if not, his next best chance is going to be at the corkscrew. So from this point here, he's got to ramp up a move as he gets up the hill. He's got to ramp up a move through turn 6, and then try to do something with Tony as they get to the top of the corkscrew.
This is what Tony Elias does. He was just studying Roger Hayden, checking out all his strengths and weaknesses, and Tony has turning all of those into his strengths. Here we go, the top of the corkscrew. Roger's too far back right now. This would be an absolute hairball move, but Tony's in a little deep. Nope, he's got to get it nice and tidy. So here they come. Where is Roger Hayden going to do it? You know he's going to try him in turn 11. That's going to be the last-ditch effort. Tony knows it's coming.
Tony's bike's been spinning a lot out of the rainy curve there, and then Roger's just trying to pull up and get close behind him. He's just not able to, Greg. He lost the front there, kind of backed it in and lost. He's having to go, though.
Here comes Roger Hayden. He's going up the inside on this one. He can't get the motorcycle stopped, and he doesn't crash, but it's going to be Tony Elias who's going to take it home on a great last lap move. Roger Hayden coming home in second here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca.
Hey, Raj had to go. Raj had to go.
That's what you got to do. And Josh Herron, a big stand-up wheelie, starving that engine of oil. Stan Boli's going to love that wheelie, but congratulations to the HelmetSounds.com Western Services Mean Motorsports Yamaha of Josh Herron, the former Superbike champion, takes the privateer motorcycle, and he will be third on the podium. What a run from Herron after what was a bit of a disaster yesterday. And that'll set them off to the break, and they'll be happy. And look at Tony Elias. He loves being here in the United States. He certainly does. So Tony Elias with the last lap effort studied Roger Hayden all race long and turned that into beautiful racecraft and a race win. We'll take a break here on beIN Sports. On the other side, we'll talk to him and see how it went.